Good morning. You're locked in live, and I'm your host, Algenon Cash. Every Sunday morning, I invite you to join me right here on WTOB at 8 a.m. for the only public affairs radio show that brings you my unique commentary on a wide range of topics. And of course, you always get a sneak peek at the values and principles that I use in my own daily life to achieve success. As I always like to remind you, the show is never about me. It's always about you. My job is to simply help you stay engaged and informed about issues happening in your country, state, and right here in your own backyard. And I want this show to be a place where you can receive positive advice, helpful tips, and strategies that will help you to become stronger, more connected, and ultimately more successful. Now, here's how the show works. I always have a special guest share unique insight with my listeners. And this week, I have Alex Hollowell joining us. Alex is the owner of Spruce Street Garden, located at 134 Spruce Street in downtown Winston-Salem. Governor Roy Cooper has imposed a wide range of restrictions on restaurants and bars. But Alex is a rising small business owner that is finding ways to successfully navigate a myriad of executive orders impacting the food and beverage industry. Stick around because you don't want to miss what he has to say about the future of locally, independently owned restaurants. But before we kick into the real action, I'd like to provide you my thoughts on the news stories that have my attention. So the Senate has adjourned until 3 p.m. on Monday as Congress failed to reach an agreement on extending extra unemployment benefits. Now, over 20 million Americans are out of work and have been receiving $600 per week on top of their regular unemployment payments. That money has been used both to pay expenses and to prop up the broader economy via consumer spending. Congress and the Trump administration are still painfully deadlocked over the next stimulus bill, with at least 20 Senate Republicans pledging to vote no on another massive relief package, no matter what. Another news story that has my attention. Staggering 32.9% contraction annualized GDP last quarter quantifies just how big a hole the United States economy is in, dwarfing the previous record set in 1958 when GDP shrank at an annualized 10% rate. If it wasn't clear before today, the economy is going to need to support dig its way out, and that assumes we don't fall back in, which may already be happening as the coronavirus surge forces some states to clamp down on their economy again. The path of the economy will depend significantly on the course of the virus, Fed Chair Jerome Powell recently stated. And as I've completely continued to share all summer long, I believe that we are currently in the middle of a pretty nasty recession. Now, a recession is technically defined by two contracting quarters in GDP. So we've had one quarter where we've already gotten a report. And I think when we look at the third quarter, we're going to see another deep contraction. We will officially be inside of a recession. And just to wrap up on the news, the country lost an African-American pioneer in American capitalism this past week when Herman Cain died from coronavirus complications. Cain was a stage 4 cancer survivor, but openly questioned many of the rules enacted in the past few months to help prevent the spread of the deadly virus. Cain was a graduate of the legendary HBCU Morehouse College, obtained a master's in computer science from Purdue. He would go on to lead 400 Burger King stores, serve as chairman and CEO of Godfather Pizza before directing a successful leveraged buyout of the company. Cain was also chairman of the Federal Reserve Bank of Kansas City, senior economic advisor to Bob Dole's presidential campaign, and CEO of the National Restaurant Association. Cain is most recently famous for his 999 tax plan that he announced during his 2012 presidential candidacy. Outside of those long list of achievements, he deeply inspired little Black girls and little Black boys such as me to pursue a career in entrepreneurship, and that success at the upper levels of this nation is reachable for anyone who places hard work at the forefront. I can still recall driving the rural roads of Virginia, North Carolina, and South Carolina, selling insurance door to door while listening to Herman Cain on the radio. He undoubtedly had a huge impact on why I've always wanted my own show. Herman Cain will certainly be deeply missed. All right, so if you're just joining us, you're locked in live. I'm your host, Algenon Cash. I always invite you to join me right here on WTOB every Sunday morning at 8 a.m. I try to bring you a powerful speaker to talk about what's going on right here in your backyard. And this particular week, I've got Alex Hollowell. Alex Hollowell is the owner of Spruce Street Garden Craft Tavern. He's worked in the restaurant industry for over 15 years. Started out as a bartender in college right here at Winston-Salem State University. He graduated in 2012. Alex, welcome to the show, man.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. I appreciate you doing this. Alex, you're a new restaurant owner. You're not new to the restaurant business, but you're a new owner. You just recently opened Spruce Street Garden. I believe you opened just a few months before the lockdown happened. Tell our listeners a little bit about how does that feel? I mean, you go through the process of starting a new business, get it open, and then have to shut down just 4 months later.
Yeah, man. So it was tough. We had a long 11-month opening process, a lot of kind of hiccups throughout the way. And then we're going into our 4th month of business and pretty much had to shut down just to kind of redo the menu a bit, just to make it a little bit more sustainable for takeout. Took about a month off, got back to it. And it definitely feels like a new impossibility every day, but we're getting through it.
Opening a business can be painfully difficult. And, I jokingly say a lot of times it's a lot easier, just showing up and working for someone, to be quite frank with you. Do you have any regrets making that jump into becoming an actual restaurant owner?
Sure. And that depends the day. So yeah, I mean, there are those days where it's like, man, I should have just stayed clocking in and clocking out. But at the end of the day, it does feel like I'm doing something greater. I've just a small amount of time that I have owned a business. I feel like I am, affecting people's lives in a positive way, which really is why I wanted to start this thing in the first place.
Well, I tell you, plenty of days I wish I was able to just clock in. Hey, at least you got something coming at the end of the week, man. Yeah, no, I can definitely relate to how you feel there. But you were also, your restaurant is in downtown, and I recall when the virus hit and the governor issued his initial executive order shutting restaurants down. I mean, it was just a ghost town in downtown. I mean, there was nothing going on. I can't recall in all my years here in Winston-Salem that I've ever seen it that way. And I remember when some of the restaurants started to open back up, it was just a blessing to see some activity happening in downtown again. You were one of the first restaurants to reopen. I recall stopping by, I think the initial day you got back on. Help the listeners and some of our local residents, help them understand, what are you doing right now to keep your employees and also your customers safe?
So yeah, we did take that month off to really think about what we're doing here. All of our tables are 6 feet apart. Obviously, that's the first step. We do have a little takeout table set up, so where you can kind of come in, get your stuff, and leave. We do have hand sanitizer set out periodically through the restaurant. Obviously, face masks are a thing for all staff, which is, man, it's tough when you're working in the kitchen wearing a face mask. It's not the most fun thing in the world, but got to do what we got to do. And we are a little lucky. The bar area is pretty spread out, so that helps out a lot. And we do have a patio, and then a little one-table covered patio, which has been pretty popular here lately.
I think he's talking about me. That's my you might as well just go ahead and put a sign on that table. I think I would be so disappointed if I just drove up and somebody was sitting at that table. I love that table, man. I think that's a cool little seat you got going on.
Yeah, man.
What's been your customers' reaction since you've gotten back open? I mean, is there any sense of fear from customers when they're coming into the restaurant these days? Or
it's funny. We get a pretty wide range of folks coming in. There are some folks that really don't see the point in wearing a mask, and they think, it's not something to be taken seriously. And then we do get the folks that, want to sit outside away from everybody, and, they want to come out and support, but they are afraid to come out. And then, we do have the middle of the road folks that, will wear the mask to the table and, be respectful of all of the rules. So yeah, I mean, it's just a mixed bag.
Yeah, I've been a late adopter to the mask. I've had so many friends, ridicule and embarrass me about it, but I'm wearing the mask. So if you're listening, don't get mad at me. Don't send me any nasty Facebook messages. I am wearing the mask. I've gotten so much better at it, and I think the whole mantra now around, obviously not just doing it to protect yourself, but doing it to protect others. When you look at it from that perspective, you do want to take it a lot more serious. So I would think if I'm taking it serious, the whole world should be taking it serious at this point.
Yeah.
No, definitely.
Hopefully it'll be a means to an end. That's what I'm hoping.
We all hope so, that we can all get back to. I don't even like to use the word normal any longer, and I don't really like the phrase new normal. But I think we've got to get to what I'm calling a new reality.
Yeah.
And one of the realities that you're having to deal with day to day right now is that even though you're open, Alex, the governor has mandated that all restaurants operate at a 50% capacity. So you're not even allowed to have as many people back into the restaurant as you normally would. Give us an idea, at that 50% capacity restriction, how's that impacting your sales? How do you staff for that? I mean, any other kind of key operational challenges you're having because of that restriction? Or
Sure. Yeah. And I mean, forecasting has been just all over the place anyway. But I did cross-reference sales from, I think it was February to July. And man, I mean, it was a third of the sales. So yeah, we're at 50% capacity, but folks still aren't really coming out like that. Our weekdays are relatively close in sales. But weekends, I mean, we're at a third of the sales easily. And it's just been tough. Obviously, with the sales being as low as they are, that restricts me from staffing in the back like we really need. So, man, me and my back of the house are hurting pretty bad. We're taking, I've got some sales trends now, and I'm starting to actually see trends, which is great. So I can make some of these bigger calls. Like I think we're going to start taking Tuesdays off because, we don't do Taco Tuesday. So it's like nobody's coming in. So we're going to take that as kind of a rest day. But staffing's been tough. Last night we got our butts kicked pretty bad. And I did have a couple of front of the house call out, but even at that, it's just tough to know how many staff I really need. Because there are some days, we just sit around looking at each other, and then, the very next day we get crushed.
Well, the restaurant gods have a way of knowing when you're understaffed. Anytime you're understaffed, you're going to get crushed, and when you're overstaffed, you're wondering where all your guests are. So
Man, that is truth.
It's a daily fight, man. I'm glad you mentioned the fact that you obviously stated that you guys have been busy and people seem to be getting back into the restaurant, but even still, you're still operating at just a percentage, a third of the sales that you normally would be gaining. And I think that's important for my listeners to understand, because I think if you're out and about on a Friday night right now and you see some of these restaurants, or you feel like they're busy, right? I mean, because you go in and there's so much activity going on, but they still may not really be making the kind of sales that they would have normally been making, simply because of the capacity restriction that's been put in place, and just the general fear, I believe, from a lot of local residents when it comes to maybe getting back out to restaurants and going out to eat. So, I think that's going to continue to make it really difficult and create a lot of uncertainty for restaurants in terms of not only what are you doing day to day, but can you fully navigate through this entire pandemic. One of the responses from the federal government was they provided loan programs for restaurants and just small business in general to be able to access, to help try to navigate through these times. I know they had one program called the EIDL loan program, as well as the PPP, which is the more famous and well-known program. That's an acronym for Payroll Protection Program. Were you able to access any of those loan programs to help you get through the summer, and were they effective?
So yeah, I did apply for both loans. We did get the PPP, which has definitely been great. But for us, we're still paying off construction and all this kind of other stuff. So it did turn into a loan, which is great because we got it. But that does mature in 2 years, and we got to start paying, I think, in December, if I'm not mistaken. So it's, kind of a big weight over my head to really hope that things get back to normal. The EIDL would have been really ideal. But for whatever reason, we didn't really qualify for that one, more or less because we're brand new. All my sales were kind of all over the place for the first couple of months. And then right about the time we were going to start seeing, leveling out and actual trends and all that kind of fun stuff, we had to shut down for a month.
Yeah, no, that's really unfortunate. If you're just now joining the show, you're locked in live. I'm your host, Algenon Cash. We do this every Sunday morning right here on WTOB at 8 a.m. So make a point to join us here. And this morning, if you're just joining us, you're listening to Alex Hollowell. Alex Hollowell is the owner of Spruce Street Garden right at 134 Spruce Street in downtown Winston-Salem. Hey, Alex, what are the hours right now? If one of my listeners wanted to come down and have lunch or have dinner with you, what are you guys currently doing?
Sure. So we are opening up at noon, Monday through Saturday. We are deciding to take Tuesdays off, so we'll be closed on Tuesdays for a little while. The closing time kind of depends the day. On Mondays, we're closing at 8 o'clock. Wednesday, Thursday, 9 o'clock. Friday, Saturday, 10 o'clock. And then we're doing brunch on Sunday from 11 to 3.
Wow. Okay. I don't even think I knew about the brunch. I remember you talking about it, and you said that you were thinking about maybe bringing that in, but I guess that's official. So that's every Sunday, 11 to 3?
Yep, every Sunday. And we're actually trying out a DJ next Sunday. We're going to do like an R&B brunch. It'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, I think I might have a good friend who would probably want me to bring her to that on one of those Sunday mornings. Now, you said you're bringing in a DJ for Sunday brunch, but you were also bringing in a DJ on Friday and Saturday nights. Is that correct?
Yep. We were doing Friday nights just so we weren't here. We tried it one Saturday and we were here till 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning cleaning up, and then had to turn around for an 11 o'clock brunch. So we decided to do Fridays only. So yeah, I mean, that was a big help. And we roped off the parking lot, set out pretty much a whole new patio on the parking lot, spread everybody out. It worked out really well. But yeah, until, what was it, 2 or 3 days ago, that's what we were doing.
Yeah, well, I know the governor just announced a fresh executive order placing additional restrictions on restaurants. There's now a curfew in regards to when you can sell alcohol. You can't sell alcohol past 11 p.m. And so it sounds like, Alex, that new executive order is going to impact you in a negative kind of way. Will you you can continue to sell food past 11 p.m. Are you going to continue to stay open late night, or will you shut it off early now?
I think we're going to shut it off early. Ideally, we were wanting to be open until midnight, and then had to scale down due to COVID. But at this point, we were trying to get back to that later menu, but it's just not worth it. We're going to kind of go back to the drawing board, just get creative with how we bring in extra revenue.
Yeah. Was this, it feels like anytime some of these executive orders are announced or modified, it does come out pretty abruptly. And I know one of my frustrations has been the communication around some of these orders. I think we all accept the very real fact that we've got to be doing our part to not only keep our customers safe, but our employees and our own, ourselves as well, even as owner operators. So I don't think anyone would argue with Governor Cooper on that very real fact. But I do believe some of the communication sometimes is not as proactive as it could be. And maybe doesn't give enough time for people to respond and do the things they need to do to prepare. What about you, Alex? I mean, you had a DJ book for this weekend. I mean, had you already paid a deposit? Did you lose money because of that? I mean, when something like this happens so abruptly, how did you feel about that?
Well, man, that's a great point. I think that has been really the only frustration that I've had thus far. Because I mean, I see where the governor's coming from on a lot of this stuff. But I did already have the DJ booked. We had to cancel, and I mean, it's nothing that I did wrong. So the DJ was, understanding, but definitely, it sucks. It was his birthday, and it was a whole deal that we were going to have hopefully a good night, and had to pull a plug, I think 2 days before. So yeah, I mean, it definitely hurts. Luckily, I didn't have a deposit or anything like that. We had a different kind of contract worked out. But yeah, man, I mean, I'm sure there are some folks out there that had booked live music or had done these things that paid deposits that, lost some money because of it.
Well, and I think it's not just the deposit that you pay for the entertainment, right? You have to order food. You actually have to have inventory in house. You got to have alcohol in house, and you have to be able to some degree measure it or try to predict the type of business that you're going to have. I mean, so I'm sure you probably ordered extra food for this weekend, I would think, right?
Yep. The food wasn't too bad because my trucks come on Tuesdays and Fridays, so not bad. Dude, I am sitting on a ton of liquor right now though. So yeah, I mean, I bumped up the liquor inventory, on a couple of my things. I tripled the par. So, I mean, I am sitting on some inventory right now.
Yeah, and I think people, and not just our government officials, but I just think people in general don't understand what that means, right? Like when you go out and spend, $5,000 or more, or however much you spent on food and alcohol, those are real dollars, sitting on the shelf, dollars that could be sitting in the bank that you could be using to pay your employees or pay the utility bills or, the other myriad of expenses that you have inside of that restaurant. And so, again, I Governor Cooper, I know you listen to the show. I know you're out there. I know you listen every Sunday morning at 8 a.m. right here on WTOP. We just need better communication. I don't think anyone's trying to fight the governor on the decisions and some of the orders. And again, I think we recognize the need to be safe. But I think more proactive communication would be so helpful, not just to, folks like Alex and I in the restaurant and bar business, but also just small business owners in general. I think small business owners across the entire landscape would just love to get, more proactive communication when these orders are coming down. You talked a little bit about staffing issues, and I'm just going to go ahead and put it out there for my listeners. I'm a fan, so I'm not just doing the interview, of Alex. I actually go down to the restaurant. I eat. I do like the wings. I do think your lamb flatbread is amazing. Alex happens to be, Spruce Street happens to be one of the only restaurants in downtown Winston-Salem where you can get lamb, and I'm a huge fan of that. But I know I came by one Wednesday, and you were the only one in the kitchen, and you were busy. I mean, you had people there, parking lot full. Talk to me a little bit about the staffing struggles. What do you think is the driver behind some of those obstacles, and how are you responding right now?
Sure, man. So, and also thank you for being a fan, man. I enjoy seeing you every week. But yeah, so staffing is just tough right now. Like I said, I'm asking a lot of my kitchen guys, man. I mean, a lot. So we've had, a couple of folks decide, with all this pandemic, their own personal stresses, they've decided, hey, this industry is not for me anymore because it's not a stable industry, man. I mean, we've seen the past couple of months have really kind of pulled the curtain back on the restaurant industry and, kind of exposed it to how fragile it is. So yeah, I mean, doing that, sorry, the phone's ringing. So with all that, it's just been tough, and at some point we all need a break.
No, I understand, and at my opening, you heard me mention the fact that Senate Republicans did not come together in terms of being able to come up with another stimulus plan, which means the federal unemployment benefits, at least for right now, are going to go away. I do think that they're going to. I do think they're going to return. Maybe not in the current form that they have right now. And so, do you think that that will have an impact? I mean, do you think that that may drive, more people to want to get back to work? Or, I mean, what are you hearing?
Yeah, that's an excellent point, man. I think that will bring some folks back because we are seeing, a lot of people wanting to stay on unemployment because, I mean, you get paid more on unemployment right now than you do being a chef. And, that's not just here. That's a lot of places. I know there are a lot of folks that start their kitchen guys at $9 an hour. So, $9 an hour, you definitely get more on unemployment doing that. And you don't have to work 40 hours a week, and my guys right now are definitely over 40 hours a week.
Yeah. And, working in the kitchen can be tough. I know, I know all my listeners think I just run my mouth all the time, but I actually know how. If I need to, I can get in the kitchen and I can jump on a grill and I can wash dishes and do the whole thing. In fact, my first job was as a dishwasher at Olive Garden, so I still remember those days. But yeah, you are right. I mean, I do think it's creating a little bit of an obstacle in terms of being able to find the right talent too, because part of it is when you're hiring for your kitchen. It's about also getting people that are experienced and, that you can train them on how to do it your way, but they've got to have some basic skills, when they come in and that can be difficult. And then I hear you say you're paying I'm paying overtime, you're paying overtime, which again drives up the cost for the business. And, at a time where you just, shared with us that you're only making about a third of the sales that you normally would be making, but you're also paying higher labor costs because of the overtime. So that's an interesting dynamic as well. Alex, before we get ready to wrap up here, man, a couple more questions. I know you've got, going back, talking more about Spruce Street, I know you got all kind of daily specials going on. I don't want to steal your thunder. Tell the listeners a little bit about what you got going on day to day and let them know when they should come down.
Sure, man. So Mondays, we've been doing $2 off all of our signature cocktails. Probably going to start doing some sort of food special on Mondays as well, just kind of get folks in. Wednesdays, we're doing 75-cent wings and $1 off all drafts. We always have a wine on draft as well. Let's see. Thursdays, we're doing half off wines. That's all wine, on tap, bottle, glass, the whole deal. And then Friday, we usually do a $3.75 featured draft. That kind of changes from day to day. We are going to start launching our full-scale menu again, hopefully within the next week. So we'll see the lamb lollipops come back on the menu.
Oh, man.
Yeah, man.
That's my favorite, the lamb lollipops. Yeah.
Mussels will be back. All killer. Yeah, man. Hands down, that's probably my favorite dish that we do. So, yeah, I'm glad to see that one back. And we've had it. It's just kind of been – you have to know somebody to get it.
Well, I'm glad I know somebody. I know the right person to ask for. But yes, you definitely need to go check out what Spruce Street Garden is doing. The lamb lollipops are fabulous. The wings are really good. That's every Wednesday, 75-cent wings. And they also do this empanada. I love empanadas, but I also love soul food. And so the empanadas are stuffed with macaroni and cheese and collard greens. Y'all, I'm going to say it one more time, because I know you started, it's early in the morning, but I know you started drooling when I said that. It's a stuffed empanada with collard greens and macaroni and cheese. I think it's amazing and certainly worth trying. And you've got a great chef down there, Chef Chop, who's been also working with you and helping you. We got to get Chop on the show, too, so he can talk a little bit more about what he's doing with his Big 8 wings and some of the food truck that he's got launching as well. So yeah, if you've been listening to us, you've been listening to Alex Hollowell. Alex Hollowell is the owner of Spruce Street Garden, located at 134 Spruce Street in downtown Winston-Salem. And I would strongly encourage you to go support Alex and support so many of the other locally owned restaurants right here in your backyard. If you don't go support them, you may wake up here soon and they won't be here. And I always like to remind you, your locally owned restaurants are the restaurants that support you the most. When you need someone to do a high school yearbook ad, when you want to put together a spirit night, when you're looking for someone to sponsor the local Little League team, it's always your locally owned businesses that are stepping up to those types of needs. And so I would implore you right now, your locally owned restaurants need your support right now more than ever. So please make sure you get out. Even if you're still fearful of sitting inside of a dining room, you can always get food to go. You can get it delivered. But I'm imploring you to make a point to support your locally owned restaurants. Y'all stay locked in.